Welcome. Welcome once again to all the supporters, fans, lovers, and even the haters. Here we go. It's, although cloudy, still always a paranoid day in the neighborhood. A wonderful day for resistance. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? No masters, no gods in the neighborhood. Still a beautiful day for debunking. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? My comrade. I have always wanted a neighbor just like you to do all the things revolutionaries do. So, sparking revolution on this wonderful day. And since we're together, might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? My comrade. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? My comrade. Hello, hello, folks. Welcome to yet another edition of Mr. Williams' Neighborhood, the homage, the anarchist homage to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and an all and out, just another creative good time that we have here on YouTube and on Mainframe Media, as well as Delinquent Studios, and also 7 Day Productions. But again, folks, we'll get into all of that. We will get into all of that. But since we're getting into all the shameless plugs, we haven't gone completely full on yet. So why don't we take a moment? Why don't we take a moment here and plug in our guy? Of course, our creative collaborative partner over on Delinquent Studios, as well as having his own channel, 7 Day Productions, as well as being an essential piece and part of Mainframe Magazine itself, is 7 Day. Okay, you can also check him out at his store. That is 7dayisland.infinity.airbit. That's AIRBIT.com. That's also airbit.com/7dayisland. So we have the infinity version and we have the default version. So you can contact them. You can basically connect to these stores to check out his music, check out his prices. Also, if you want some more, you want dialogue, a little bit of rapport, you can always contact the the email address that I helped create is going to be, dayw4882 at gmail.com. So again, welcome, folks. Wanted to bring along and do some homework on my own here and show you a little bit more of the DIY that I try to speak to you people about. And let's see, one that I can show you right away is this one. Now, this right here, folks, is the Mike Myers Certification Passport. CompTIA A+ certification, the 4th edition. Now, how is this DIY, you might ask? Well, basically, that is to connect yourself to get actual certification, to take an exam, to get an actual certification, to be able to, actually say that you're actually qualified to do things involving computers, whether it's cleaning it, setting it up, securities, whatever on the computer, you can do that, and you can do it on a professional level. And so it also works in a DIY to help yourself, so that you don't have to call someone else out, Geeks on Call, Geek Squad, and things like that, to come out and help you with basic things concerning your computer, laptop, what have you. So that's one certain thing that we're working here, DIY. Also, folks, on the other side, because life at times, life, you want to keep balance. So on the other side of that, give me a second here. Okay. Also, what we have here, folks, is a resistance band. Sometimes, folks, yes, you can go to One Life Fitness, you can go to a big gym, you can go to cross training, CrossFit, and things like that. Or you can certainly just go out there, buy certain equipment on your own, and make those things happen for yourself. Just a little bit of a homework assignment that I wanted to bring. But we've also know that following up on the last show, voluntary participation, that we know that one, for example, Wesley Snipes. Let's just take Wesley Snipes, for example. He felt like a lot of other people felt like in different ways, that, you can skirt now. Now, hopefully, there's two ways that we can take this about Wesley Snipes. That either he felt like because a lot of Hollywood, a lot of bigwig, a lot of rich people can skirt and not pay as much taxes, and virtually pay no taxes at all. Or maybe he felt like he got to a certain point of knowledge and felt like we shouldn't be made to pay taxes and things like that, and just decided not to. And therefore, you've seen the results of that kind of thing that can happen. Lauryn Hill is another victim of that. Sammy Davis Jr., I believe. Red Fox, as a matter of fact, from Sanford and Son fame way back in the day. They're also victims of this involuntary situation that's been indoctrinated. I mean, wow. Taxes have been and history has shown, at the very least, that is one thing that couldn't be denied, because, you can spin a lot of things, but when you want to make something a part of the, American fabric, and why we are the way we are, and why, no taxation without representation, this is something that they made a big, now you don't hear that much now, because people started to really think about it for a second. Like, like people are not being represented right now that we're currently taxing. So how can we keep making no taxation without representation? Like, really, like this big thing, this big movement that keeps persisting, time after time after time. So here we are, being taxed, and that's why a lot of groups are coming out, and I think that'll be the longer road. That's why we feel like politics, in its own way, is just a big waste of time, because what you have at this point is that once certain groups get themselves established, then they have to try to work themselves into the fabric of politics in order to be represented in those aspects. But in order to truly be represented in politics, you have to have those people truly prominent in the political landscape, meaning you have to have gay, lesbian, you have to have transgender people representing. So you have to know that someone at once upon a time was a male or female and transitioned and is actually being elected into political office. That way you're getting representation, at least to, even if a small degree, at least you're getting that. Now, as an anarchist, this is normally not even my conversation. I normally wouldn't even entertain a conversation about what to do to better the situation. But this is the modern anarchist situation right now. There is not going to be some great war where we're going to take down government. It's just we just don't have the capabilities to do that. Not for a long, long time. We just don't have the capabilities. Because even if we could take certain parts of the government or certain buildings and whatnot, it would be very difficult to sustain it without the type of defenses needed to sustain it. So it's just not, I'm just not sure how feasible it is. So it becomes incumbent upon us to think more in the modern times to be able to, weave our way through, because it becomes a point that, we're going to be the older people, and then, there'll be younger people under us. So how will we move the world forward? We might have to think about it in terms of that. And so instead of thinking about it in terms of 10 years from now, we'll be at war with with the rich. We'll be at war with the upper 1%. Instead of looking at it as to where, maybe there'll be more of us out here who would rather have a different way of life than what we have right now. And there'll be more of those people than there'll be of those people who want to keep it just the way it is, or just the way it was before, or even repeal it back further to where we suffer even more in these situations. Because let's not forget, I am an anarchist. And so let's not forget that there is in my circles a strong, strong belief that there are people out there that not only want to control the population, but also cull the population, thin the herd. And I mean, okay, I thought I could move on beyond that statement, but maybe not. Some people who are so prone to offense that it doesn't even occur to them unless you have to. But anyway, folks, thinning the herd, basically reducing the population numbers. There are some people out here who want to do that. How do we do? I mean, and I don't think it's simply just by we want to kill off a good number of people, hundreds of thousands of people, but simply through sterilization, through certain things that end up giving people cancer, affecting their lives. I mean, just a lot of things that can affect people's ability to reproduce, to be fruitful and multiply, they can be put in place. Maybe a number of things to be put in place to where you don't want to lean on one thing to where hundreds of thousands of people are dying here and there. Very often that's going to really get people questioning, even people beyond myself. But to have certain things that will make people sterile, lower sperm count, things like this, make women have reproductive issues the way they can't bear children, things of this nature. It's out there. So, and rather than have conversations about what would someone do, would I reduce the population, would I kill a certain amount of people in order to better the population, to save, or make the resources more fervent for the people that survive. Maybe the better thing is to unify with people, figure out, combine ideas and figure out ways to replenish what is being thinned out. Those renewable resources that we can use can be replenished, can be built back up. There are certain alternatives that we know that are out there that we can start to build back up, that we all know. They keep saying it's expensive. It's expensive to talk about it. It's expensive to now take it upon your shoulders and now go to other people and say, we need funding. We need $20 million to do this. When a lot of this is relatively inexpensive. A lot of those people have been doing it. They probably spend a lot more money on the helicopters and the operations to send people swinging down on ropes down into somebody's crops to burn all those weed crops than it would to actually build up these, in these trees, to build up hemp, to basically take that and to use that as a more inexpensive way for paper, fuel, glue, even concrete. There's a lot of things that could be done that could be connected to that to make it way more inexpensive. But then you say, well, why don't they? Because, folks, because there's a big masons build, masons do this construction, unions and whatnot. The systematic organizations and secret organizations that always rise up along with the main, they're all interwoven, folks. They're all there. Those people who connect or sympathize, card carrying members, whatever, of these other organizations are connected into these corporations that will lobby, that will push for weed, for marijuana to be basically outlawed and seen as whatever we can do to make it seem like this is not something you want to be a part of. That's what we want to do. And basically we're all this money that we claim that we want to save. Everything is so expensive to try and do, but that one thing that would basically bring down expenses, but more importantly, on their side, the revenue of those corporations, we can't have that. But you know what? Let's get this back up because we need to take some time. Get my guy up here. I'm going to get some promotional music here. But also while we're getting ready to do that, let's check out Without Borders. Now, this is something that's often being talked about, which, was often debated, but I'll explain. Let me just get this out real quick. W, Without Borders. A border is something that divides one area from another. Dictators and nation states divide the world into political zones as they see fit. However, viewing the Earth from space, we see a world without political borders. A world where only the boundaries are the great mountains and the vast seas. True enough, because a lot of these places were way more connected before certain natural things occurred, to where areas were lowered, sea levels rose up, and it caused a permanent shift and division within certain areas of the world. But that's conversation for another time. What are some naturally occurring borders you encounter on a daily basis? What are some human-made borders you encounter on a daily basis? Well, of course, the biggest one that we're talking about right now is going to be the wall, always the ever-present border between Mexico and the United States. And that always wasn't the case. Mexico, was, oh God, folks. I mean, history lessons, I guess we're going to do that. But, let me just do this. Let me make a good reference in a way that I actually have a bit of respect for. Adam Conover, Adam Ruins Everything, that's on True TV right now. Yeah, check that guy out. Check out more about America and seeing, how just how we really came over. I'm not going to say we. But see, that's the whole thing about being American. You see that? You see how it is associated myself and people like myself had absolutely nothing to do with what happened over here in America, except for the fact that we fought with the Native Americans, the actual Americans who were here first. We fought with them against the tyranny of those coming from the UK and so forth and other places and so forth to the new world to them. New to them, old to the Native Americans that were already there. We fought with them to try to stave off their tyranny. But of course, when you have plenty of numbers and plenty of people building up around you, and a lot of weapons to take you down, I mean, it's hard to really deal with that. Sad to say. But we do have something up here. Let me take a moment to so right here. We gotta go to our we do have to go to our guy here, a partner. Because I believe we do have some new stuff in. So why not get into that immediately? 7 Day Productions, folks. MC, producer, writer, engineer, author. I mean, take your pick. Welcome back, folks. I want to take a moment, You know, this is an anarchist homage, and we're definitely trying to work that in. I also want to take a moment to also kind of say to those who may watch this, who may know of my overall history, what I used to do, and things like that. And I want to express a couple of things because I think, it's kind of weird that we're talking about this on this particular show because, with Mr. Rogers, you learned a lot about, loyalty, and trying to be a good person and things like that. You want to try to do that, and I know I've said on other shows, I believe it may have been documented on a couple of shows that I've done where I feel like loyalty can be seen. Yes, loyalty by some people can be seen as a sickness. I get that. I totally get that. How it can be seen as a sickness. How somebody else's viewpoint, they can look at it that way. But the sickness is in truly not valuing yourself. That's a message that I want to send to people who feel like, you know what? My loyalty is not being taken seriously or valued. It's you who are not valuing you. And it's when you value you, when people will value you and they'll value whatever it is that you value. But it's like when they know you don't truly value yourself, is when they try to take advantage of that and, and take advantage of your loyalty because they see your loyalty as an extension of yourself. So as they see your loyalty as, as not as important, not as, not as noteworthy, not as significant, not as a priority as the way they see themselves, the way they see certain aspects in themselves, because they don't see you on their level. They don't see your loyalty as something that they should, that they should worry about or care about. Your loyalty is what you should provide as a, as like a necessary tribute, for being connected with that person. It's something that you learn, that a lot of us learn when we were kids. You have friends, and a lot of times, I think the frenemy thing is the most prevalent, is the most real when you're really young kids, especially when one kid gets something, like you have a video game system that nobody else has, you have a game that maybe nobody else can get right away or anything like that. It's always something that person may have that you don't have, that draws you to them. And when it's okay, you're playing my thing, this is my thing, you have to abide by their rules and the situation, their requirements. You don't like it, you don't get to play, or you can even leave, if you're over their house or something like that. And, and back then as a kid, I started to realize as I started to get older that you have to be thankful for what it is that you do have. And sometimes you have to move forward with what it is that you do have, because of the worst thing is being bound to somebody, even on a small petty thing like a video game system. You don't want to be bound to that person and always be made to feel like you can be degraded, you can be treated any sort of way because, oh, you want to play my video game. And I think as you get older, sometimes, our loyalties become more developed, with friendships, partnerships, and things like that. Also, your desire, your willingness to see a potential in a situation that may not totally be there, or that may be there, but not in the way, that, but maybe not in the way that would truly warrant what's happening, and I think that's the thing that becomes a very tricky situation when it comes to loyalty. Especially when loyalty comes into play when you're trying to endeavor on something. You're trying to, you want to be a part of something that you feel like could be big. What I'm saying? Could do, could do big things for years to come. And you try to stick with that. I think, see, my thing about it is that I guess, I overvalued myself at times. So loyalty wasn't a big thing, in certain situations, or at least that's the way I viewed it after a while. That's why I allowed myself to view it. Because at certain points, it wasn't like I just bailed on people or things like that. But after a while, when you feel like, you know what, I'm becoming distrusting of people, suspicious, even well before, we're talking about even well before, we're talking about years before, when I was still on my own search and on my own brand building, there were other people that would come along and, just try to pull you in their direction and try to influence you here or there, and that's where again, voluntary participation comes in. That's where truly being able to be, accountable for yourself. People are always going to have things that draw you in and that make you feel like, okay, you want to play by their rules in order to be able to obtain or get or or accomplish what you're looking to accomplish. But sometimes you have to know when the loyalty, hey, if you served your way, I'm a loyal person, I've proven that I can be loyal, kudos to you. No one's saying that you cannot be a person that's a sucker's play. Being loyal to someone is a sucker's play. No, it's not. The only time, the only problem that I have with anyone when it comes to loyalty now is that don't let the loyalty, because sometimes that's the one thing, but then when we value, because that's another thing, when we value the loyalty over ourselves, that again, it comes back to not valuing ourselves enough, to where it becomes more about the loyalty than it becomes about, hey, I value myself way too much to keep. But it's like my loyalty, I want to show people that I don't cut and run. That was a bit of my issue. Wanting to show, wanting to be able to prove, if to no one else, to myself, that, hey, I'm not going to cut and run. I'm not going to do this because, there's real potential here. And I really feel like there's real friendship there. But, you got to understand that sometimes you believe that because you're loyal, because the virtues and aspects of yourself, cause you to believe that. But you realize it's just not true. That's when you start to realize that it's just really not what you think it is. But let's just see real quick. Oh, and point being is that you have to be willing to move forward with what it is that you have. Be thankful for it, be happy for it, and just keep pressing forward. Things get better. Things have progressed. I have used, I've gotten and have used, to a very, to my satisfaction. I was able to use and do very well with the podcast equipment. There will be more things done with the podcast equipment. We're building things back up. It's long-term thinking these days. That's what true friendship is about. Friendship isn't about white knighting anybody. If you look at it that way, then if you how can I put it? I mean, the best thing that I can say is that whether on the internet or in real life, friendships, are what they are and they aren't what they aren't. And they're never going to be what they can never be. That's period. Whether it's online or whatever, it's never going to be that. And people always act like that. Because see, and it's the weird thing, because people would do the same thing with a friend in real life. as opposed to, as opposed to a friend, as opposed to a friend that's online. They'll put more and they'll allow more and they'll do more, and they'll put up with more with that friend in real life as opposed to that friend that's online that's made that maybe they haven't had as many problems with. It's just, but folks, the only thing that you can do is value yourself more in these situations and know, hey, am I truly doing something that's contributing negatively to the situation? Is what I'm doing warrant being spoken and warrant yourself and me being spoken to in the way I'm being spoken to? Does it truly warrant that? You really have to think about those things. As an anarchist, and I think that's where it was sort of like you sort of realize that people are laughing at you. Because even as an anarchist, at times you can lose your sense of, hey, I'm being taken advantage of. Hey, someone's trying to play me. Someone's trying to put me in a position to, make me look a certain way, either for their own shits and giggles or just to prove to certain people, oh, he's fake. He's not, and that's going to be a constant issue, a constant thing that's going to dog a lot of people in their lives in various ways, moving forward. A lot of stuff that I speak about when it concerns anarchy. And then you still have people willing to, they challenge it in a way that tries to make people, see you as something that you're not. And it's like, you just have to, it's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do at the end of the day? You just rise above. You keep proving what you have to prove, to yourself, mostly, to your family, definitely, that your life better than anyone else's. And then when I look on my life and I realize as a modern day anarchist with children, trying to raise them up, I'm trying to raise independent minded people that will not go out here and the first thing they're ready to do is run to the government and beg for their help. Get out here, do what you have to do to make your own way out here so that no one can come and act like they can take anything from you. Handle all the things that you have to handle in the best way possible. And even though you may not totally agree, I mean, hell, I'm an anarchist. There's a lot of shit that goes on right now that I have to enact that I don't agree with right now. But going off the grid and that type of thing, it's just not a viable option. And as for a modern day anarchist, if I could be allowed to use the ways and means that we helped usher along, I mean, then of course. But no one will allow that. Oh, you have to be stripped down. You have to rewild. But is that really an option to live your life as a camper? I mean, that's just being real, folks. I don't think anyone could truly live their lives as a camper. You're still going to want and try to build certain luxuries of life regardless. Hey, you're not going to want to live in a tent the whole time. Eventually, you're going to want a cabin. You're going to want fireplace. You're going to want those things. Even if you're roughing it out there in the woods somewhere, you're going to want a cabin. It's just the way stuff works, folks. And that's why rewild is another thing, is another interesting word. Because again, it's not saying that everything that's being said here is the God's gospel. Question everything, folks. Question authority. Question everything. You can't just believe rewilding is the way to go simply because it's put into an ABCs of anarchy. That's an option. You have the freedom to pursue your own path. That's why you have anarcho-capitalists right now. A lot of people laugh at that sentiment. Like, anarcho-capitalists, what the hell? Anarchists don't like capitalism. Anarchists, see, that's the thing about it. You make it about not liking capitalism. We don't like capitalism. It's about saying, you know what? We like freedom. Capitalism allows people We believe in pursuing your freedoms, but without hurting or infringing on other people's freedoms, infringing on other people's pursuits. Capitalism makes it a sport out of, like, it makes capitalism is real life monopoly. Put it that way. The way, better yet, it was real life monopoly the way it was evolved by Parker Brothers. You know, capitalism is that way. You buy your property, or you buy the railroads, or you buy all the utility companies. And then once you do that, you're able to charge so much more money when people land on your areas. You're able to do this. Once you get all the color coded properties, you're able to put houses. Once you complete the necessary around the houses, then you can start putting hotels and houses and everything like that. And the more you develop in those areas, the more you can charge people. It's, capitalism is real life monopoly. The way it was perverted by Parker Brothers. Eventually, again, very interesting person to reference from when it comes to having these conversations. Adam Ruins Everything on True TV. It's not. See, Adam Ruins Everything is a nice little, fun little, cute little title that people interested. What does he ruin? What do you mean he ruins? He doesn't ruin anything, in my opinion. But that's a nice little way of putting it. But if he ruins anything, I would say, if he ruins anything, he ruins people's thought processes of certain things. He doesn't ruin, shopping malls. I mean, if you spend enough time in shopping malls and actually went to different stores and things like that, come on, there's just certain things that you just know to be true yourself. And when you watch something like Adam Ruins Everything and you see how he lists a lot of these things, you truly understand. And it's like, wow, I was thinking that same thing when it came to this sort of thing. But also, there's certain things you may not totally agree with. There are certain aspects in certain shows that, like the conspiracy theory one, there are certain debates that we can have back and forth when it comes to conspiracy theories, folks. Because they believe that thinking that not being distrustful and suspecting everything as a conspiracy, will make you, I think they say that you will start to lose your grasp on reality somehow. But it's like, seriously though, did you ever really have? But think about it like this: did you ever really have a grasp on reality if you didn't know that half the things that were going on around you were happening? If you thought for a lot of your life that a lot of things that we now know to be true, listening to people's cell phone calls, through tech, through devices, mind control, experimentation on people, being able to set someone off through hypnosis or the power of suggestion, putting a certain buzzword in their, in their minds that when called out, can make them go to a certain action immediately. We know these things happen. So to believe that someone, once triggered by a certain word, tone, whatever, can be made to go and simply start spraying at, at concert goers. Do people who now we can go and read a laundry list of these are all the issues that these people had in this world. These are all the issues that they had as they were coming up. But now all of a sudden we can now reveal all of this, but none of this was a concern for anyone when this person was buying guns and, it looks like SWAT equipment and things like this. When he goes and shoots up a theater, it's these things that people claim that we as journalists can now say, oh, this is all the information that we have now on this person. But they had this information. And we still don't. The thing about it is that we sit around and we watch this mass circle of this is what's going on. Somehow these things happen. They report on it. No one really gets to the why. We can tell who the person was, where he went, who he killed, and we moral. And I was like, oh, and now here's the thing that's lovely, folks. Here's the thing that's really lovely. People are now trying to make a commitment to make it more about the victims of this tragedy more than the shooter, because the shooter wants fame. So we'll make it less about the shooter and more about, okay, that's fine. You can take that initial time and make it more about the victims. But at some point, we have to start thinking about, how was this shooter allowed to go and purchase, purchase, equipment, purchase weapons and things like this, when there clearly was an issue, when there clearly were things that could be seen, I mean, at the very least, as red flags, points of concern. I'm just saying, we all know these things happen around us. So I'm just saying, to not ask the right questions, to not question these things, who really truly has a grasp on reality? The person who believes that none of this stuff is really going on, is a bunch of fantasy, it's just not really happening, or the person who now knows that a lot of this stuff is happening and is becoming more suspicious of things around them. Now, it's only when that person starts going way over the line in every single situation they try to make into some sort of sinister plot, and there's no real basis for it, is where, okay, yes, I think anyone can go over the edge, but maybe those opposers, I don't know. I haven't met a whole bunch of people like that. Yes, people are excited. People are on fire. That's what happens when you first start realizing that what you thought for a long time that was, really wasn't. And it just becomes a thing that just kind of perplexes you. You don't know what to think from here to there. I mean, I'll give you the best example before we go to a commercial break at this point. Promotional things here. But I'll give you a perfect point. Alex Jones, along with William Cooper, were two people who were the basis of helping me along with who I am as an anarchist, as a journalist, as, just as a creator out here. Imagine my surprise to hear that William Cooper did not think much of Alex Jones at all. Spoke about an interview that he actually went on to Alex Jones's show, excuse me, if I remember that correctly. I'm just not sure, but there was a meeting where these two, because I gotta get to that footage. But I believe, from his concern, I believe he came on to a show of Alex Jones. He said everything went well. Everything went well, and I believe, as a matter of fact, not only do I have his, not only do I was able to hear myself William Cooper's audio of the interview in question, but I actually heard the interview itself with from Alex Jones with William Cooper. Everything went well. I can definitely confirm what he's saying. Everything went pretty well in the interview. There was no argument, no tension, no nothing. But then William Cooper attests that Alex Jones will go on to say that interview was scrapped because of William Cooper's behavior, his cussing, his belligerence, and ultimately him, leaving the show, which caused him to scrap the show. He calls him, he was very, very stark, very, very, he wanted to make sure it was clear. I'm not being light about this. I'm being very serious business about him being a liar and a fucking schemer and just a fucking, a fucking false alarmist. He feels like guys like Alex Jones wants to have people going headlong, into some sort of war, with the government or whatever, to ultimately have themselves screwed over in the process. He even spoke about one point on one of Alex Jones shows where he caused a false alarm on his show, an attack that never actually happened. He spoke on this. William Cooper saw Alex Jones as a complete shill, a complete, bullshitter that has some sort of false designs that he wants no parts of. So imagine that. And then you go, and at first I didn't know how to make heads or tails of it until, you start realizing that Alex Jones, as he moved forward in his multimedia conglomerate empire thing he had going on, he's working with this guy, Mark Dice, who then I guess, so it's kind of hard to say, because I want to say that a part of this whole progression was him sort of falling out with Alex Jones, and then subsequently doing this book, and also this YouTube, and also these YouTube rants about William Cooper and his book Behold a Pale Horse, and how it's a bunch of nonsense, and how William Cooper was a crazy drunk that basically had a bunch of arrogant machinations, including his military service and things of this nature. And then soon after that was done, all of a sudden they seem to reconcile and they're back together. I'm just saying, folks, at first it shocked the hell out of me. And then the truth starts to reveal itself, and you have to take it for what it is. But again, folks, 7-day productions, folks, on YouTube. Please check out the store that is going to be Airbit. That's going to be airbitfolks.com or airbit.com/7day island. There's the default, and then there's an Airbit location. Infinity Airbit. Okay. Excuse me. That's infinity.airbit. But but again, check out the stores. Check us out. Let's see here. A little distracted, but let's see. Do apologize for the delay here. Just want to get back here to some of the other choices if we can. It's taking a little long here. Let's go to that, because I'm sorry, I just like this one, folks.
They tell me you got a bad reputation. Girl, they tell me you keep on breaking hearts. Girl, they tell me you got a bad reputation. Girl, they tell me you keep on breaking hearts. Girl, they tell me you got a bad reputation. Girl, they tell me you keep on breaking hearts. Girl, they tell me you got a bad reputation. Girl, they tell me you keep on breaking hearts.
Okay, let's get back here. Let's try out another one. Another one. They don't want us to do it. That's why we got to do it anyway. Okay, I'm going to cut in on this one real quick because I just gotta. We got to get some on the move in real quick. Let me see. There we go. Yeah, we got to do that.
I'd like to welcome y'all to the show. Yeah, I'll be your host at 20 Soul Tower and Sound. Yes, nigga. Yo, what you mean? See me after the verse, these bullets, and niggas dancing out LA, we rehearsed it. Shit, you brought your team perfect. More niggas to work with. Dropping niggas like it wasn't on purpose. I'm dropping rhymes like it wasn't my purpose. Look at me hating out here, doesn't it hurt, bitch? I'm chain shopping, chain popping, train hopping in that order. My nigga, what's your main problem? Blaming your environment, wearing diamonds and then blaming me for ironing it. How you a boss and can't handle your diet? Fuck who you feeling like and admire. I ain't feeling like if I am 24, the fuck is you want? Yo, what you want? Shit, let me know, nigga. It's the same wave, everyone on these days. These niggas stage names sounding like screen names. I stay in the zone while you just stay in your phone. Wouldn't push a brand. That shit was that. Woke up with your camera like if I won't smack you out of the picture. Fuck your fans, dog. Shit, them niggas is bitches too. Spitting 16s at you niggas like I read it too. Dang, blowing brains out, just blowing out that glitter. Ooh, loud niggas, but this shit is too. Clicking you, click is finished with a red at you. Get it your head, this shit isn't you. Physically smacking niggas for they lyricals. Nigga, move. Real niggas on the move. Carry out shit out here. Give it out you. Real niggas on the move. Real niggas on the move. Hear me out, shit out here. Give me that shit. Real niggas on the move. Imagine y'all niggas actually hard. You smack your bro and she just laugh it off and ask for more. It's looking like I am the nicest nigga after all. They tell me rap evolve. I'm like, yo, ain't me rapping, dog? The fuck the rest of y'all niggas ain't rapping for? Golden expert still had niggas after y'all. How you and he know ain't say shit to me, don't be on TV, though. Ain't say shit to me, though, nigga. We don't do videos, put your kids in what we want. I'll shoot the shit and Blanco shoot it while I shoot at you. Royce told you just to shoot out. Who the fuck have you been grooving to? Be sure they play it at your funeral. Sometimes that is beautiful. Plus it's looking like you booted. That just make a better view for you. Let's see how many views it do. Hook you up, yo, here's a few for you. Get a sponsor from YouTube for you. Now how much moving do you do? Not the usual nigga, my nigga, oh you. Wouldn't matter if we did an interview with you. Shit, you probably in no toolie. Oh, shit, that cool to you. Yeah, you in the pool to you. Eat sweet niggas like if I was in the movie. You clip dumb long, but it isn't gonna fool with you. Give me that shit. Real niggas on the move. Real niggas on the move. Hear me out, shit out, man. Give me that shit. Real niggas on the move.
Well, folks, well, thank you once again. We've gone over an hour on the Mr. Williams Neighborhood Show. Normally, Mr. Rogers would go about half an hour or so. I just like to, get into a few things here, and just have a little fun if I can. And of course, we'll be having more fun as we start to venture further and further out into the neighborhood. But I did want to let you know about those resistance bands a little bit if I could, and why that's more of a do-it-yourself situation. A lot of people don't have a lot of money to do the whole solo flex, to get a whole bunch of barbells and, and different weight equipment and things like that. At the very least, you can get yourself a resistance band that one even has up to about 60 pounds of pressure, and certain adjustments that you can make can help you even add a little bit more resistance onto it. And that could help you keep, more in shape. If you're looking just to get more in shape, a little bit more cut, a little bit more streamlined, not so much you're trying to really build up bulky muscle, then hey, that might be the way for you to go. Getting little things like that, maybe little hand weights, ankle, hand weights, wrist weights, ankle weights, things like that help you as you're training, as you're moving, that can help putting that extra weight on can help, help really work those muscles in more of a way and help you even gain a little bit more speed, a little more dynamic ability. As you're learning how to move and be more dynamic, stronger, faster with those weights on when you're off. I mean, no telling. So just again, a little something to think about on the DIY side. Also, folks, I do want to say, thinking about last week's show, don't be afraid to question things in your own neighborhood, one way or the other. Sometimes I think 2019 became the year for me where I really had to start stepping up and showing a lot of what I was talking about. You can talk about, gangs and the bullshit and the walking stereotypes, in your own neighborhood and not wanting to be a part of that. And that's fine. But also wanting to change the landscape of what people see in the stereotypes, you have to step up and be willing to handle that. Allowing people to use your house as a decoy. They'll park there and they'll go somewhere else to buy their drugs. No, look, you're coming out here to do it. You take your own risk. You're not giving us the respect to even let us know what you're connecting our house to. Come on. So just not being afraid, folks, to change, but also be unifying with the people in your neighborhood. Be willing to welcome and not have all of the same type of people in your neighborhood. Trust me, I can definitely say on my side, it hadn't worked out the greatest. I've had a lot of great friends and great people that have been of various races. I definitely don't feel like my life was better because I lived in a predominantly Black neighborhood coming up. I'm not going to say it was better, but I'm not going to say it was the worst thing ever. But I don't think things would have been made worse because we had a few more white people around here, or a few more Latinos around here, or Asians, or whatever. In fact, we had people open up stores and things like that. Other races open up stores here and things like that, and we want to treat them like crap. But nobody else will come down here, folks, until you change the culture of things down here. You can expect better, you can want better, but you're not going to get better if you don't step up. What people are going to come down here, and why would people want to do anything better when you come? It's just you have to look inward. Be willing to look inward to make the changes that you want. That's all, folks. I think that kind of really puts a nice little capper on this whole thing. You have to be willing to go out, step out, dare to be different, veer from what the conventional wisdom might be and take some risks out there. You may find a great reward comes on the tail end of that. So I'm going to head on out here, and as we do, we normally get right into it. It's a great feeling to know you're alive. It's a great feeling of fire growing inside. The truth wakes you up and makes you say, I will fight against the tyranny today. It's a great feeling, a great, great feeling that I'll be back when the day is new. I'll have more info to share with you. You'll have conspiracies you'll want to figure out, and I will too. Well, folks, I know it's not the greatest, sunniest, balmiest day out here, but it's not sweltering with heat, at least not around here. And it's not raining cats and dogs, so just enjoy the day as best you can. Stay woke, stay wary, folks. And unify against the real enemy, of course, as always. Solidarity, common ground, and equality for all.